All right, get ready, because today we're doing a deep dive into Malbec.
Ooh, Malbec.
We're going deep into your stack of articles,
Okay.
and this is going to be fun.
Right.
And I think this is a really interesting one because it's a grape that almost completely went extinct
Right.
and made this amazing comeback.
It's true, yeah. To become like a global superstar?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what's so interesting is it's not just that it like went away and came back.
Right.
It's almost like it needed to go away to kind of reach its full potential.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to uncover today.
Totally. Yeah. So I'm excited to dive into this.
Yeah.
One of the first things I noticed, and you had this highlighted,
Okay.
was that Malbec used to be called Côte in France.
It's true, yeah. And not only was it called Pope, but it was actually a key ingredient in Bordeaux blends
Wow, okay.
back in the day.
So it's like a long way from the Malbec we know and love today.
Right, exactly.
So what happened? What was that transition?
So basically what happened, picture this, it's the 19th century,
Okay.
and you've got this thing called the phylloxera plague, and it's sweeping through Europe, wiping out vineyards. It's terrible.
Oh, no.
And on top of that, a really bad winter in 1956, like just decimated what was left of the Malbec in France.
So it like almost went completely extinct?
Completely extinct, yeah.
Oh, wow.
But
then it found a home in Argentina, right?
I did, yeah.
So you got all these notes about this guy, Michel Aimé Pouget, and he seems very important to this story.
He is essential. Like, this is the unsung hero of the Malbec story.
Okay.
He brings Malbec cuttings over to Argentina back in 1853, probably not realizing that he was about to, like, completely change the game when it comes to wine.
Yeah. So he plants these, he brings these cuttings. And what is it about Argentina that is so different?
So high altitude vineyards in the Andes, super sunny days, but then like cool nights. And that's exactly what Malbec needed to like really come alive.
So it's like it went from almost dying to like thriving?
Totally, like full glow up.
Yeah.
Exactly. And this is where that idea of terroir comes into play.
Right, and I have that in my notes.
You do.
What exactly is terroir?
So think of it this way. Every element of that vineyard, the soil, the altitude, the amount of sun, it all comes together and it's like it gives the wine its own personality.
So like each region's going to be a little different.
Exactly. So in Argentina, Malbec like found the perfect stage to really show off what it can do.
That's so cool. Okay, so that's the backstory, which is fascinating on its own.
Right.
But let's talk about like the actual taste.
Okay, yeah.
Give me your tasting notes, because I know you love this part.
This is like the good stuff. Okay, so Malbec is famous for like its bold black fruit flavors.
Okay.
Think plums, like really ripe blackberries, even that like deep, almost jammy quality of black currant.
Yes. See, I love that because it's like that delicious, almost decadent fruitiness.
Yes.
That's what I love about Malbec. But is that all there is to it?
No. It's so much more.
Okay.
It's like a chameleon in a glass, really. And remember, you mentioned you like a little spice in your wine.
I do, yeah.
Okay, so Malbec has these like subtle hints of black pepper, clove, sometimes even cinnamon.
Interesting.
So it really adds layers of complexity and warmth to the wine.
Now that you mention it, I can kind of remember tasting that in a Malbec recently.
Right.
Where it wasn't just fruit forward, there was something else going on there.
Exactly.
And I think you might be right. It might have been those spice notes.
It very well could be.
That's so cool. So you said chameleon, and you mentioned spice, but I also read that it has floral notes.
Yes.
Is that even possible in a red wine?
It is. You might get a little whiff of violets, especially in Malbecs from cooler regions. It's like this delicate floral whisper.
I like that. I like that description.
Right. And then, of course, you've got the oak aging, which you wanted to talk about.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Because that was in a bunch of the articles, and I don't know a ton about that. So,
okay, sure.
like, what is it about aging wine in oak barrels that changes it?
Okay, so think of oak barrels as like Malbec's secret weapon.
Okay.
They add a whole other layer of flavor and aroma.
Interesting.
You might find vanilla, dark chocolate, sometimes even like coffee or tobacco, depending on what kind of oak and how long it's aged.
So it's like the oak almost becomes a spice rack in and of itself.
Yes, exactly.
It's adding all these different like complexities and depth.
Exactly. It just adds more depth to it. And then, of course, there's the tannins.
Right, which are, how do you describe tannins?
The tannins are that dryness you get on your tongue.
Oh,
It's like a little bit of pucker.
right.
Like if you've ever had like a dark chocolate bar, like a really high cacao percentage.
Right.
So that sort of pleasant dryness, you know?
Yeah, totally.
And that comes from the grape skins, the seeds and stems. And with Malbec, the tannins can be like super smooth or super bold.
Wow.
It just depends. It depends on where it's grown and how it's made.
Okay, so all of that comes together in this one glass of wine.
Yes. It's like amazing.
That's wild. I have like a whole new appreciation for what goes into a bottle of Malbec.
It's a process, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. But, okay, we have to talk about pairings because
Of course.
wine is great on its own,
Right.
but food takes it to another level.
It does.
What's the classic Malbec pairing?
Well, I mean, you can never go wrong with a classic. Malbec and a perfectly grilled steak.
Yes.
Those tannins that we were just talking about, they cut through the richness of that meat so well.
Right.
It's like creates this perfect harmony of flavor.
It does.
Yeah.
I have to say, I was doing a little bit of reading, and Malbec with Argentinian barbecue keeps coming up.
Oh, it's the best.
Is there something special about that pairing in particular?
So picture this, okay? You've got those smoky, charred flavors from the grill.
Oh, yeah.
Think like a picanha, which you mentioned.
Right, yeah.
Or even like a flank steak.
Ooh, flank steak.
And then you pair that with a full-bodied Malbec. Like, you can't go wrong. It is like culinary heaven, honestly.
I believe it. Okay, I'm adding that to my list of things to try.
It's so good.
Oh, and we have to talk about chimichurri.
Yes.
Like, I feel like that has to go with it.
Oh, of course. It's like
I mean, this just sounds like the perfect pairing.
It's so good.
But what about those nights where it's not a steak night?
Yeah.
Can you do Malbec with other things?
Totally. Yeah.
Because I know you're a big pasta fan.
I am huge.
What about pasta with Malbec?
Yeah. Malbec can be like surprisingly playful when it comes to food.
Okay.
You mentioned lasagna bolognese. That would be amazing with a Malbec.
Oh, that's good to know because I actually have some in my fridge.
Right.
So I'm going to have to try that. But are there any like more unexpected pairings that you really like with Malbec?
You know what I love, and you're not going to believe this.
Okay.
But Malbec with like a really good aged cheese.
What kind of cheese are we talking about?
So like, you know that Parmigiano Reggiano you have?
Hold on. Malbec and Parmigiano Reggiano.
Trust me. So it's got that like granular textures and it's like super salty. And the Malbec, especially if it has a little bit of oak on it, it's like it comes in and it's like fruity and kind of smooths out those salty edges.
Interesting.
And it's honestly one of my favorite pairings.
Okay, I have to try it. I would have never thought of that.
It's so good.
So, but Parmigiano Reggiano.
Right. That's like number one.
Are there others, or is that?
You can branch out, yeah. Like a Pecorino, Gruyere, Emmental.
Okay.
You want something like kind of strong and salty that can stand up to the Malbec.
Got it. Okay.
It's all about balance.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, I have to ask, because I was doing all this research, and this name keeps popping up.
Okay.
The Catena family.
Oh, yeah.
And they seem very important to this whole Malbec thing.
They are, yeah. They're basically Malbec royalty.
Okay, so tell me everything.
Okay, so their story starts back in the late 1800s with this guy, Nicola Catena.
Okay.
He's an Italian immigrant, comes to Mendoza.
Okay.
And he has this dream of making these incredible wines.
So why Mendoza? What is it about that region?
So it was like the perfect combination. Super sunny, cool nights, fertile soil. It kind of reminded him of home.
Okay.
He knew it had potential, you know, to really make world-class wines.
Cool. And so how did they get from this Italian immigrant with a dream to, like, Malbec royalty? What was that journey?
So his grandson, Nicolas Catena Zapata, he's the one who really like took that vision and ran with it.
Okay.
But, you know, he was kind of a maverick.
What do you mean?
Like he challenged the way everybody else thought about winemaking. So he started planting Malbec at higher altitudes than anyone thought possible.
Why? Why would he do that?
Everyone thought he was nuts because these vineyards, like way up in the Uco Valley, it's cold, it's harsh.
Okay.
Everybody was like, you can't grow good grapes up there, but...
He knew something they didn't.
He knew that intense sunlight up there, the big temperature swings between day and night.
Yeah.
That was going to give him grapes with way more flavor, really bright acidity, those elegant tannins that we were talking about.
So he was right. He proved them all wrong.
He revolutionized Argentinian wine.
That's incredible. It's
a really cool story.
So this family really did change the game.
Totally.
And they're still going strong today.
Oh, yeah. So Nicholas's daughter, Laura Catena.
Okay.
She's running things now, and she is amazing.
That's so cool.
She's like carrying on that tradition of like really pushing the boundaries, you know?
Yeah.
And they're still experimenting, coming up with incredible wines.
That's so cool. So it's like a family affair.
Yeah, totally.
Wow, what a story. So Argentina's the king of Malbec, right?
Yeah, they're definitely leading the way, but Malbec's kind of a world traveler, you know?
What do you mean?
It's popping up in all these different countries, and it's cool to see the different flavors that come out.
Really? Like where?
Mm.
Where else is Malbec being grown?
Well, you've got Chile, obviously, right next door to Argentina, and theirs have like a really nice freshness, sometimes even a little minerality
Huh.
that you don't always get in Argentinian Malbecs.
So it's like the region really does make a difference.
Oh, for sure. Even the ones grown in California,
Oh, interesting.
they
Okay.
have a different vibe.
What's different about California Malbec?
Well, they tend to be more fruit forward, you know, those big ripe flavors.
Right, that makes sense. California.
Yeah,
A
exactly.
little bolder.
Yeah, exactly. But you know what's cool is, like you were saying, it all comes back to that terroir.
Right, right. Because we were talking about how important that is.
Super important. And it's like with Malbec, you get to really see that in action.
Yeah, that's a point.
Right, because you taste these different ones and you can tell,
Right, yeah.
oh, okay, this one's from this region. You know, it's amazing.
That's so cool. And, I was looking through my notes, and there was an article that mentioned Malbec being grown in my home state,
Oh, wow.
which I didn't even know was possible. So,
See, that's what I love. It's like
Yeah.
winemakers all over are like, you know what? Let's try it.
yeah.
They're experimenting, you know? And who knows, maybe your home state will be the next big Malbec region.
That would be amazing. I mean, we've learned so much, but I almost don't know where to start. Like,
Right.
we've got all these Malbecs.
Right.
Where do we even begin?
Well, remember that article we were looking at before about food pairings?
Yeah.
It mentioned something about trying Malbec with blackberries and rosemary.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I thought that sounded kind of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So maybe start there, and then we can branch out.
Exactly.
Try all the different regions, all the different pairings.
Yeah, just have fun with it. That's the most important thing.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say, this deep dive has been eye-opening.
Good, I'm glad.
Like, I thought I knew a little something about Malbec, but
Aw.
I've learned so much.
There's so much to know. It's true.
Yeah, and you've given me a whole new appreciation for it, so thank you.
You're so welcome. And the best part is, this is really just the beginning.
That's true. That's true.
Your Malbec journey is just starting.
Cheers to that. All right. Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive into Malbec.
Cheers.
And to all of you listening, until next time, happy tasting.